For years, the waterways of Europe, Asia, and the United States have battled an unwelcome guest, the signal crayfish. Known for its invasive dominance, it has disrupted native ecosystems and left scientists with more questions than answers. But sometimes, looking back at the origin of a problem reveals a hidden story. In its native Pacific Northwest homeland, researchers from the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign turned their gaze to the signal crayfish and made a stunning discovery. What they thought was one species turned out to be three. After years of patient observation, fieldwork, and genetic investigation, two new crayfish species were unveiled, the Okanagan Crayfish and the Misfortunate Crayfish. Both had lived in plain sight, long mistaken for their better-known cousin. "I think we underestimate how rich the biological world around us can be," said Erik Larson, co-author of the study and associate professor at the university. His voice carried the awe of someone who had just cracked open a biological mystery. He reminded us that the world is home to over 600 described crayfish species, and now, thanks to this work, we know of two more. The discovery didn't come easily. It started with the subtle recognition of crayfish that looked just a bit off. Larson and his team employed advanced genetic tools, notably genome skimming, to peer deep into the DNA of these creatures. By sequencing mitochondrial and nuclear DNA, they found undeniable evidence. These weren't just variants of the signal crayfish. They were unique lineages. Morphology, field samples, and science came together. And suddenly, the Okanagan and Misfortunate Crayfish had names, identities, and stories of their own. But the tale quickly turned bittersweet. Within the same environment where they'd finally been identified, their survival was already in danger. The Misfortunate Crayfish, especially, lives up to its name. "When we discovered it," Larson said, "much of its native range had already been lost to the invasive Rusty crayfish. That cruel irony gave birth to the name, Misfortunate. Not recognized until after damage had already been done. It was as if fate had played a trick on it." And the threats don't end there. Invasive species like the virile crayfish, and careless human actions, such as using crayfish as bait or dumping aquariums, continue to endanger these vulnerable animals. One wrong introduction, Larson warned, can ripple across an entire ecosystem. These invaders don't just arrive. They conquer, and native species, like the newly discovered crayfish, are often powerless to resist. But naming them, Larson believes, is the first step to saving them. A name becomes a story. A story becomes awareness. And awareness fuels conservation. This wasn't the plan, Larson admitted, reflecting on his unexpected journey from fisheries biologist to crayfish crusader. "But the deeper I got into it, the more I realized how much there was to understand and protect." Now, thanks to his team's relentless pursuit, two tiny creatures, once lost in the shadows, stand a chance. They have names. They have defenders. And now, perhaps, they have hope.